Absolutely love a recent roster addition. Who am I talking about? Before I jump into it, if you could please hit that subscribe button for me. Okay, so let's get into it. Most of you are probably thinking I'm talking about a draft pick of ours, and you would be correct. I am talking about one of the draft picks, and it's not our first round draft pick out of Arizona, Jordan Morgan. We're talking about a fifth round draft pick, and this is a guy that has been turning heads already. We're talking about fifth round draft pick Jacob Monk out of Duke. So let's hear what Adam Stenavich had to say about his explosiveness at the rookie minicamp. He said, I like him. He was very explosive when I saw him doing the O-line drills. I thought he had a really good explosiveness off the ball. So that was pretty impressive. That is what we saw on film. These guys look the part. Now it's a matter of them picking up the system and fixing their technique. It's pretty exciting. Okay. So speaking of fixing technique, when we start talking about, just our offensive line and the help that we're going to need there, especially when we start talking about depth, and that's key to any offensive line. When we start looking at injuries that are going to happen and occur, we did lose David Bakhtiari. We freed up cap space. However, you can almost say that the dude was not even part of the team for quite some time due to all of his knee injuries. But let's take a look at what Stenavich had to say about our first round selection out of Arizona, Jordan Morgan. Okay, so this has been a little bit of a head scratcher for me when we first selected him. But I see the potential there. So here's what Stenavich had to say about our first round selection. He said he's got good movement skills. He's natural on the edge, so that's good to know, right? He's going to be probably best suited at tackle, but again, I think he's going to be better suited at guard in the long term. But he looks comfortable out there. There's obviously some technique stuff we've got to clean up, just like everybody. But yeah, I'm excited to work with him and watch him and see. I wouldn't say he's a tackle, and I wouldn't say he's a guard. I just want to see where he fits best for us with our best five out there. So that may be at tackle. It may not be, but I'm excited to work with him. And I can see his athleticism when he's out there. He's a pretty talented guy. Of course, he's going to be talented. We took him in the first round. He better be talented. Obviously, vesting in, just such high draft selection there with Jordan Morgan. Again, it's been kind of a head scratcher when we start talking about where he's going to fit, because he left it very confusing, because we started saying, like, I don't know if he's best suited at guard. I don't know if he's best suited at tackle. We don't know exactly where we're going to put him. We already know that Stenavich said he wanted to put his best five out there. And Matt LaFleur already said, hey, we're going to be putting our best five out there. Brian Gutekunst said the same thing. Whether or not Jordan Morgan fits in that mold this season or not, time is going to tell. But one thing we do know is that Monk is he's turning some heads, and it wouldn't surprise me if this guy, maybe slips his way into the starting lineup. Monk, 6'3", 308 pounds. He started 58 games at Duke. At three different positions over 5 seasons. He started at right tackle as a true freshman, and then he moved inside at right guard the next 2 seasons, and then he split starts between right guard and center over the last 2 years. Obviously, Brian Gutekunst loves that about guys that can be shifty. Even Morgan can play tackle. He then switched over to guard. Again, Monk is one of those guys. He even played center, so he can be rotated and moved every which way. That is exactly what Gutekunst is looking for. That's what the Packers are looking for, guys that can interchange, especially when we start talking about the injuries along our front five there. So time is going to tell. Monk only allowed 7 sacks his freshman year at right tackle, but then when they moved him inside, he only allowed 5 sacks over 4 seasons. So that is really good. So he's probably going to be better suited, especially when we start talking about his size. He's probably going to be better suited at guard. But again, Jordan Morgan, his size fits a tackle, but he's got the small arms and the short arms, so it would make sense for him to move in at guard. But I really do see him playing left tackle for us, or even right tackle. Who knows what they do with Zach Tom? A lot of questions there to be answered. Leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts when we start talking about the O line and just where where guys are going to go. But one thing I have recently heard when we start talking about the offensive line and then the question marks looming around our offensive line, depending on how Jordan Morgan, shapes up, is going to depend on who we go out there and get. Do we need extra help? There is a guy that we could go after, and it is a former first-round pick, outside tackle, DJ Humphries. He is a former Pro Bowl, but he's got some injury problems. And we can talk about that right now. Let's look at that. So here's some of his injury problems right here. Injuries were a part of Humphrey's storyline, limited to 5 games in 2017 and 9 in 2018, but he played every game in 2019 and 2020, missed only 1 in 2021, his lone Pro Bowl season, okay, because of COVID. So we know that he's got talent. He was talented enough to be selected in the first round. We know that he's talented enough to go to the Pro Bowl, but injuries have been his problem. Kind of sounds familiar when we start talking about David Bakhtiari. But it says a back injury kept him out half of the season in 2022. He played most of 2023, but then he tore his ACL. And so he's been on a recovery there. Now, he was released by the Cardinals. And do you see him fitting in at Green Bay? Time is going to tell. He would be a great guy to bring in because they did get him for super cheap. He signed a huge contract. Former first-round pick out of, selected by Arizona, signed a huge contract there. But then obviously with his injury problems and all of that, the Cardinals couldn't, continue paying him. It sounds familiar when we start talking about David Bakhtiari. So that being said, he's been cut by the Cardinals. He would be an excellent addition when we start talking about adding some depth into our offensive line room and even just around that off, left tackle, right tackle, wherever we're going to need the help there. This would be a fantastic guy to bring in there. Again, we're talking about tackle DJ Humphries. Okay, so leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Is Monk going to be a better starter in this league than our first round pick, Jordan Morgan? I know some of you out there may think that, some of you may not. I'm curious what your thoughts are. And should we bring in extra help out there? A guy that we could get for super cheap, a guy that has super talent, a guy that was a former first round pick, former Pro Bowler, and DJ Humphries. Should we go and do all of that? Leave your comments. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to read through it. And as always, go Pack Go.